Hello, Basic Brian back. Another chapter of C.S. Lewis's Miracles. This one concerns red herrings. A chapter of red herrings is what this chapter is called. Miracles, apologetic work about the existence of God and nature. Even though God made nature, he doesn't have to do miracles necessarily. And cases against miracles rely on two different grounds. God excludes them, or nature does exclude them. Red herrings. Red herrings are kind of that's not the issue. It's an expression for, it's actually in a Lemony Snicket book, series of unfortunate events. It's info or a claim that is irrelevant or a distraction. Maybe it's superficial or a misunderstanding. So Lewis is going to talk about two red herrings, I believe. And don't believe it. It's contrary to the laws of nature. People believed before because they didn't know better. He's talking about nature here. It's our patterns that we see as science. And experiments show what regularly happen in nature. Discovery of these sciences excludes nature. And C.S. Lewis thinks this is a confusion of the mind, that you don't believe it. It's contrary to the laws of nature. People believe because they were stupid. That's kind of what he's kind of arguing against. Miracle believers don't deny norm or rule, only saying it's a suspension. A miracle is an exception to the rule, a suspension of nature. There's a world full of stories of people who experience miracles, perhaps true, perhaps false. And discover whether it's possible miracles, and if so, how probable. So that's one of the things this book is trying to discuss or say. And Lewis argues that ancient people were aware of nature and could tell miracles, the contrary to the exceptions to the rule. Ancient people, the Dark Ages, the medieval times, they weren't stupid. They knew what was contrary to the patterns that they were in. Maybe it wasn't as precise, but and he uses Saint Joseph in the Bible, Jesus's father, the husband to Mary, who did not contribute, or when he laid with her, he assumed that he got cheated on at first, but it was a virgin miracle, the Virgin Mary. And people understood that women got preggers when they lain with man. And at first, Saint Joseph was hurt, and he was going to quietly divorce Mary because of the infidelity. But we may know the story of the gospel. Miracles excite fear and wonder, taken as evidence of supernatural power. Knowing rules of nature and exceptions is what makes miracles what they are. Professes to a unique invasion of nature by something outside. Increasing knowledge of nature can't make it more or less credible that miracles happen. So this is something that C.S. Lewis argues. And red herring 2 is our false conception of the universe in olden times. We used to think that the earth was the center, or many people thought earth was the center of the world and God created us, but and God isn't into our petty affairs anymore. He's indifferent. And Lewis argues that some scholars back in the day, Ptolemy in particular, knew about the magnitude of the earth, and other writers like Dante or Chaucer Chaucer knew as well as H.G. Wells about the magnitude of the Earth and the universe. Ptolemy kind of knew about the stars and kind of came up with ways to measure the Earth. And not everybody thought the world was flat. And the size of the universe is too immense for man as a finite creature. We're a derivative being. Our cause of existence doesn't lie in ourselves, but of our parents and of God and nature. Christianity doesn't have the belief that all things were made for man. It does involve the belief that God loves man and for his sake became man and died. The size of the universe doesn't affect the credibility of this doctrine. The supposed ratio of size to importance feels plausible only when one of the sizes involved is very great. So when it's not as significant, it's just kind of superficial. But Lewis is arguing, even though things are really huge at times, it shouldn't really affect our beliefs in God, and that God cares for us and is part of us, and we're his creation. And the importance we have to size is an affair not of reason but of emotion. And so that makes the argument kind of a little less logical and emotional. If vastness of nature threatens to overthrow our spirits, we must remember that it is only nature spiritualized by human imagination. Old poetry readers were captivated more by brightness than largeness or vastness or bigness. Bigness and the brightness of stars are respectable emotions and can produce art and poetry, awe, humility, and exhilaration, but taken as philosophical arguments are ridiculous and not a strong argument. And that kind of concludes the chapter of Red Herrings. Thank you for watching. All the best. Cheers.